We have a massive winter storm that we are tracking from coast to coast. We have heavy snow in the mountainous areas of the Pacific Northwest and the Southwest. We have potential blizzard conditions in the northern plains, including up to 2 feet of snow in Minneapolis. We have a massive ice threat from Chicago to Boston, including many heavily populated areas of the Rust Belt and southern New England. We have a flooding threat for much of the Ohio River Valley, and we have a severe threat in the southern plains and southeast. This storm really does have everything, so let's cover it all so you can plan ahead for your week. Let's get right on into it. So let's start off here with a general overview of what this storm is going to do and when. We're going to start off here on Monday, when this video is getting released. We have snow in the Pacific Northwest, and this low pressure system is going to be dropping in from British Columbia, bringing moderate to heavy snowfall from Montana back into Washington and Oregon. So the northern Rockies and the Pacific Northwest going to be seeing heavy mountain snow. Then this low pressure continues to drop to the south, and we start to see the Southwest get involved Tuesday into Wednesday, where we can see here some snowfall in the Sierra Nevadas, as well as Nevada, Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, in that moderate to heavy snowfall, especially up in the upper elevations. But we have a very cold air mass in the Southwest, and we could be seeing areas such as San Francisco and the foothills around Los Angeles also getting snow because it is much colder than it should be for this time of year. Then we see this storm system eject into the eastern 2/3 of the country, and it is going to pull up moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. Now, this is very warm moisture, so we have the potential for severe weather and flooding rain. But we also have a cold air mass here in Canada, and that is going to be bringing in some cold air. And where those two air masses collide, we're going to be seeing freezing rain. Where we have that cold air at the surface and that warm air aloft, you're going to be seeing snow melt into rain and freeze on the surface. This is treacherous for anywhere that it does fall. And we're going to be seeing that set up between Chicago and Boston through the end of the week. Wednesday into Thursday is the main time frame for this, and that is really going to impact especially Thursday morning's commute. So let's continue on here. We have this low pressure, it's in Colorado, and this is where the blizzard component starts to ramp up here Wednesday into Thursday. You could see this whole mass of snow move into the northern plains, and this low pressure here at 993 millibars is very strong. So we have this low pressure move in, and it is going to crank winds just on the back end, and that is where we have the potential for 30-mile-an-hour sustained winds over 3 hours, limiting that visibility down to a quarter mile, and that is a blizzard. So we have the potential here for a massive blizzard in Minnesota, including Minneapolis, St. Paul. But we also have that blizzard in the Dakotas, maybe even into Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan as well. These are really the targets for much of this heavy snowfall. Again, we have heavy snow in the Mountain West, the northern plains, even into the northern areas of New England, including Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York. And then we have just below it, sleet and freezing rain, stretching from Omaha and Lincoln, Nebraska, all the way through into southern New England. So a very large and expansive winter weather threat that is going to be moving across the country this week. So let's talk about our snow threat for this storm system. So here is a map of our snow totals for this storm, and let's go over the major areas. Starting off with the Pacific Northwest, we have the Cascades getting up to a foot of snowfall. We also have the northern Rockies getting at least a half a foot of snow and up to a foot in the highest elevations. Even the lower elevations could be seeing 3 inches of snowfall. Then we have the Southwest, where the Sierra Nevadas are going to be getting dumped on with at least 2 to 3 feet of snow, as well as the Southern Rockies getting at least a half a foot and maybe even a foot in those highest elevations. Now, the interesting thing about this storm system is that we could see snow all the way down to the foothills surrounding Los Angeles. and we could be seeing snow even into the lower areas of the valley. And San Francisco, you have the shot of seeing some flurries with this storm system. Then we move into the northern plains. I expect this band to be a little bit further to the south, just based on how this Canadian high is going to set up. But Minneapolis, you're right around here, and you could be seeing 2 feet of snow. I'm not even joking. Right here is the 2 feet of snow center. I expect that further to the south. So one of these areas is going to be picking up at least 2 feet of snow. If I had to make a bet, Minneapolis would be my bet. The Minneapolis-St. Paul area also has an extreme winter storm severity index rating. So even the Weather Prediction Center has very high confidence in Minneapolis-St. Paul getting extreme impacts from the storm, and that is all snow. And this is also the area that could be seeing a blizzard. So the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, even into the UP of Michigan, watch out, because if you can see those 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts, you can see those limited visibilities, you're going to be getting a blizzard. Then we have the Northeast. Most of northern New England and northern New York could be seeing at least a half a foot of snow, if not a little bit more than that. But this little area down here, that is from a storm system moving through later on tonight and into Tuesday, so let's kind of ignore that. But let's move on here to the ice threat with this system. We also have a massive ice threat with this storm system, and again, we're going to shift this just a little bit further to the south because I think that we're starting to see this start to shift further to the south. So the NAM actually has this going all the way back to Lincoln and Omaha, Nebraska, and all the way up into northern Vermont. But we're going to talk about the main stretch of ice here, including Chicago, Detroit, Erie, Pennsylvania, Buffalo, New York, Albany, New York, the entirety of southern New England, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and maybe even areas of the New York City metropolitan area. If I had to guess anywhere that's going to be picking up a quarter of an inch of ice, it's going to be Detroit. Detroit, you have the best opportunity here to pick up a quarter of an inch of ice, and that is detrimental. If you live anywhere from I-90 in Chicago up to I-90 in Boston, I-80 in Chicago to I-80 in western New Jersey, you have I-95 in southern New England, you have I-84 as well stretching into Pennsylvania. All those areas, absolute slip and slides on those roads. If you have to go out, crawl. They recommend don't even step on the gas pedal, just ride the brake. Don't even try to put your foot on that accelerator because you could spin out very easily. This is the area where you are going to be seeing many pileups, many car crashes because ice is impossible to drive on. There is no friction at all, so just stay off the roads if you have to. Just stay off the roads. I'm just telling you right now. This is going to be an insane ice risk here. But let's move on here to the massive rain threats. We could be seeing some flooding from this storm as well. So let's move on to that. So let's also talk about the flood threat with this storm system. We have a massive amount of area that could be seeing at least an inch of precipitation. Now, this is also the area that's been battered with rainstorms in the past week and a half. So that soil is already saturated, which means that anything on top of it, it is not going to be able to take. So many areas here, including right around Chicago, could be seeing flash flood watches and warnings being issued with this storm between now and Saturday. This is the total precipitation between now and Saturday, and you can see from Cleveland, Ohio, down into Oklahoma, that is at least an inch of rainfall. We're not going to count this area up here because that is mostly snow and freezing rain, but just south of that, you have all this. And just outside of Chicago, just the south, that is over 2 inches of rainfall. And you can see that that is the main hotspot here because you're going to be seeing both sides of this storm system. You're going to be seeing the initial side with a little bit of a plume of rain to start, and then you're going to be seeing the back end as well. But don't forget the West. The West could be seeing substantial amounts of rainfall down into San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Oakland. Could be seeing at least an inch, if not 2 inches of rainfall between now and Saturday. We also have the coastlines of Oregon and Washington, as well as Seattle and Portland, seeing at least a half an inch to an inch of rainfall. But in those mountainous regions, you could be seeing over 4 inches of rainfall, including Southern California, northern areas of Washington could be seeing 4 inches of rainfall with this storm system. But that is all I have for the wet side of the storm. Let's talk about the severe side real quick. And last but not least, let's go over the severe side of this storm very quickly. Now, the Storm Prediction Center has issued a marginal risk of severe weather. This is between, I believe, there we go, 7 a.m. Wednesday Eastern Time and 7 a.m. Thursday Eastern Time. So this is the area that's been battered with severe weather over the past week. Dallas-Fort Worth, up into southeast Oklahoma, Little Rock, Arkansas, Jackson, Mississippi, even into northern Louisiana. These are the areas that just had tornadoes over the past week. So just another round of severe weather. Although this isn't as severe as last week, we saw a lot worse last week. There is still a chance of strong winds, hail, and tornadoes with this threat. So watch out if you live in any of these areas, because I do expect that this will increase as we get closer to the storm, but right now at a marginal risk. And that is all for this massive storm system. We've talked about the snow. We've talked about the ice. We've talked about the rain. We've talked about the severe weather. This storm really does have it all, and it is going to be impacting the entire country. It really doesn't matter where you live. You are going to be feeling the impacts of this storm system no matter what. There is no place in the United States, maybe the extreme southeast, but most of the country is going to be seeing some sort of impacts from this storm, whether it be from that snow, that ice, that rain, that severe threat. Somebody's going to be feeling something over the next week, and I don't think we've seen this massive of a storm system yet this year, so it's definitely going to cause a lot of issues across the country over the next week. So stay tuned here for any updates. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting that bell. But thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.